one of the many war memorials in our communities, and this one is the ideal height for kids or for people with mobility challenges, perhaps in wheelchairs. This is dedicated to the 93,000 Canadians who served in the Italian campaign, and I'm just old enough to have bumped into a few of them when I was under contract to DND. They had long retired, of course. Well, that brings up my time in Cyprus with Canadian Peacekeepers. It was the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment. Lieutenant Colonel, I believe was his rank, Norris Pettis. You'll see his name on his uniform. He discusses how it's no vacation to be among the peacekeepers in Cyprus. My apologies for no supers, but this is very, very old footage. Take a look at Norris Pettis.
Well, I'd like to dispel perhaps the myth or rumor that it's some sort of vacation when we come over here. People think, oh, the Mediterranean, quite exotic. And it is a nice place. But it is a sacrifice to come here 6 months away from your family, and it's a sacrifice we all willingly make. But it's not a picnic. Let's talk about the soldiers who are doing the main job here out in the buffer zone. Their routine is pretty rigid. They do a 12-hour shift, so that's quite a long stretch on duty. So their routine on shift would be either manning an OP, patrolling on foot or in vehicles, and they'll work these 12 on, 12 off shifts for a while, then they'll get a day off, and then they'll get 2 days off once a month.
Working long shifts 7 days a week in temperatures up to 40 degrees Celsius and sandwiched between two armies, misunderstandings can occur and tempers can become frayed.
Well, it was nothing more than both sides are to stay behind certain areas on the green line, and in this case a soldier had moved from one of the forces had moved forward ahead of his position into what we refer to as the buffer zone, and when I asked him to move back, he refused to, and in a minor verbal disagreement indicated by pointing his weapon in my general direction that perhaps I should leave, and then it was not necessary for me to stay there. I just responded as per what is our standard. I got our duty NCO and then the duty officer to come out, at which point everything was returned to normal, and it was just written off and not worried about.
How did you feel?
I wasn't that worried. We had been told it was going to happen, and so it was a bit of some nervousness, the fact that there was a weapon pointed at me, but it was also that it finally got around to happening, so it sort of a sense of relief that now that I've been through part of it, I know I can handle the rest.
We get weapons pointed at us, I wouldn't say daily, but certainly weekly here. Sometimes the weapons are cocked and pointed in earnest, and others they're just done as more of a joke or an insult, perhaps. I think the soldier on the line can tell, looking at the soldier's eyes or his behavior, when in fact the situation is more threatening.
While peacekeeping has its risks, they are more than offset by the benefits. In war, it's usually all too easy to determine the winner or loser in a conflict. In peacekeeping, it's impossible to estimate the number of lives saved.
The fact that certainly fighting hasn't broken out for 15 years and life is more or less normal on both sides can be attributed in no small way to what we're doing here. And I think it's the same in Canada. The military, Canadian military, has soldiers throughout the world. They're probably the largest group of ambassadors that we have in one way of looking at it. And I think that process is cumulative as well, and has contributed, I think, significantly to the reputation Canada holds in the world.
Allan in Nicosia, Cyprus.